Hi, everyone. I think we will commence. We've got a good amount of people in the room, so we will kick off. I'm Ben Moreau. Thank you so much for joining us today. I'm VP for Southeast Asia for Lexer. Lexer, for those that maybe don't know us, we're a customer data and experience platform focused on helping retailers become more customer-centric by making customer data accessible to all teams within the business to help create great customer experiences that drive business outcomes. The webinar today, Humans and Retail Data at Scale Together. You're going to hear about opportunities where we think that are being missed with customer data investments, how we don't necessarily think that a single customer view is the solution to all the problems and resolves everything. Hopefully it's going to provide some food for thought about how customer data can be applied across the whole business in impactful ways, and not just placing the responsibility on the shoulders of marketing. I will just share my screen. Just a little bit of housekeeping. Engage with us as much as you like, any way you like. Submit questions through the Q&A icon. We have got a couple of polls coming up to get your feedback and thoughts, and you can put things through chat as well. And this is being recorded and shared as well. Okay, let's jump into it. And it's going to be a reasonably easy start. I'm going to tell you some things that I expect you already know. Retail and e-commerce is evolving faster than at any point in human history ever. It does sound dramatic. It is meant to. Anyone can start a retail business these days. There are 200-pound gorillas dominating the retail space, especially in Southeast Asia, in the form of marketplaces, and that push from the top and bottom is squeezing traditional retailers, making it more difficult than it ever has been to succeed. This new world and new expectations is all about relevance, real time, purposeful, frictionless, much harder than it has been to engage with customers, and enabled by things like unified data. We're hearing a lot about how generative AI is giving a huge leap change in the retail space. Customer insight is essential, and one-to-one personalization is expected. The customer perhaps hasn't changed. It is still the focus for every retailer, but the approach has. It used to be more about channel, and it is veering more and more towards customer. Thinking back to those things I was showing on the screen before, the customer has more power than they had before, and therefore to reach the customer and be relevant to them, it is more difficult than it was 15 years ago. For marketers, the old world was that channel-centric world. The metrics were things like impressions, click-through rates, open rates, customer acquisition price. But the new world is more about business metrics, customer lifetime value, customer satisfaction, prediction of customer churn, and advocacy for customers. So marketers have the same job, but the metrics have shifted much more towards these business-centered metrics. And these business-centered metrics are not there just because for the sake of it, for the sake of change. They make a difference. So customer experience leaders see 3 times more higher returns versus laggers, and this comes from Forrester. And this is actually going back in time a little bit to around the GFC. Forrester had a customer experience index, and they still do, where they were measuring returns in terms of share price for the top 10 retailers versus the top 10% versus the bottom 10%. And they saw that the leaders in the top 10% of the customer experience index saw these higher returns versus laggards. So that is a great demonstration of how customer experience is so important during recessionary periods, which we are facing at the moment. And it also shows that this isn't just about revenue. These are share price returns. This is about customer engagement. This is about systems and processes and culture, and how that customer experience really needs to be embedded throughout the business in order to generate success. So it seems pretty simple, right? Like we all know that we need to drive up customer lifetime value and keep our customers and be relevant to our customers. Customer experience will provide great returns in terms of revenue and share price increase. But yet many are still struggling to get there. This is not something that everyone is finding easy to do, and there is a straightforward reason for that, and that's data. For great customer experiences, you need customer insights. You need to understand the customer in order to be able to generate those great experiences. To generate great customer insights, you need to be able to use the customer data effectively. Now that means having customer data to begin with. Then it means making it usable and applying it to capture insights and generate experiences. And then it means enabling the people in the business to easily get what they need so that they can create those impactful outcomes. And if we focus on customer data, so your first party data, McKinsey believe that marketers and companies that do not figure out a strategy to maintain and even grow their access, and I think access is the key word here, to first party data, you just have to spend more. This is a couple of years old. It might even be more than 10 to 20% more based on customer expectations these days, but have to spend 10 to 20% more on marketing and sales just to stay in the same place, just to generate the same returns. And these are reasons why it's not easy. So I've hammered home the point now, which I'm sure you're already on board with, around how the data is important to drive a successful business, but we get that it's not easy. The data itself is often all over the place. So just putting it in one place in itself can be challenging. Even if you can put it in one place, there are often many technologies, there are often many processes that are manual and slow, and it's not democratized and accessible across the business. It's locked into maybe the IT team or the data team. So you've got to bring the data together. You've got to make it usable. You've got to make it efficiently used across the business. And you've got to bring people with you. This is all about a change of people's BAU, their operating system. Technology itself is not enough. Teams have to adapt in order to make that data a part of their DNA in terms of how they do their role. Now, for a lot of people, they stop here. They think if we can bring a 360 customer view, that's good. And it is good. It's certainly a step of the way there, but it's not enough. It's time we evolve the conversation from a 360 view of customer to 360 deployment of customer data. I'm going to talk a little bit about what this means, how it can be done, and what some of the use cases for what 360 deployment is across the business, and some of the outcomes that you could expect from that. Let's take a retailer. This is not a real retailer. This is FakeCo, a fake retailer. FakeCo is customer obsessed, self-proclaimed customer obsessed. They do have an accessible 360 view of their customer. The marketing team can do personalized marketing. They can send messages to segments with relevant messages to their customers. And the marketing team have been tasked with those customer value and churn risk and customer satisfaction metrics that the business sees as important in order to be a customer obsessed business and create great experiences for their customers. Tick. Job done? Not job done. FakeCo is not customer obsessed because they may have a single customer view, but getting insights is still really hard. It's either really manual, laborious, or it's owned by other teams that are not accountable to marketing, who have got a whole load of other work that they need to do. So personalization isn't possible enough of the time. So marketing are underpowered in the first place in order to be able to do personalization at the scale that they need to. And it's only marketing that are driving this. Personalized experience is not reflected across all of the customer touch points within the business. So marketing are the ones accountable for driving it, but they're only one point in the business. Most customer data projects that occur touch less than 5% of the retailer and greatly underpower marketing. So marketing are fully in lockstep with the customer data project. The e-commerce team likely are as well, and leadership are bought in. However, there are other areas of the business that are moving further and further away from that. Finance and IT are maybe slightly connected. HR, absolutely not. Merchandising and buying are not. Operations and logistics are not. And sales, associates and store management are not. And these charts here represent, the bars here represent the number of people in the business that are operating usually in these departments. And these all touch the customer. These are all having an impact on how the business engages with the customer. So marketing is just the tip of the customer iceberg. And I'm going to go into now, sorry, I'm just going to go into our first poll. Firstly, just to check you're awake. And also I'm going to go into some use cases across those areas of the business. So I just want to get a sense of today. And this is, please be honest, which areas of business. I'm really curious. I think it'd be interesting for the people in the room as well to understand how others are doing this. But which areas of your business are you applying customer data today? We can see the tip of the iceberg is very prominent, marketing. It's great to see so many are applying it to marketing, and we're seeing a bit in customer service, and then a little bit in merchandising and store management, and not much beyond that. That's probably what I expected, and probably what you guys expected. It is interesting to see that there is customer data going more broadly across the business as well, but that's a very common state of affairs. By the way, guys, I forgot to mention this at the start, but we will leave a little bit of time at the end for questions as well. So Hosanna is helping me with questions. We will address those at the end as well. So we're looking to sort of finish the content in about 15, 20 minutes, and then we will go to your questions. So let's think about customer service. Some of you said that you are using it. If you think about how many customer service engagements do you have per month, how many customer touch points are there per month? How are they making the customer feel? And are you thinking about growing the value of your customers through those engagements, or just resolving that issue as quickly as possible? If we think about the opportunity, clearly to reduce customer frustration through resolving those more quickly, but also we're really thinking about how you can turn a customer service center, which is a cost center in most cases, into a revenue center. How you can actually use those engagements as an opportunity to increase customer satisfaction and loyalty, and empower the agents to have better engagements with the customers, more personal, more relevant, something that gives the customer a better experience, and the agent as well, through use of customer data. We know that when customer data is applied to customer service, and the agent can easily know the customer through their previous history with the retailer, and they can provide a better experience to the customer relationship with the brand, that it can transform a customer center from a cost center into a revenue one. You can create upsell and cross-sell opportunities, and you can leave the customer leaving satisfied and being an advocate of the brand. For example, we have a retailer that have all of their high-value customers flagged in our customer data platform. Now, when a high-value customer comes through to the service center, and the agent has a history of the customer's engagement with the brand, including their orders, their spend, how recently they've bought with the brand, and how frequently they do buy from the brand, Firstly, the agent knows that they're a high value customer and they can prioritize that customer accordingly. Secondly, the agent has the opportunity to proactively surprise, delight, add some personalization, add some humanness to the interaction by giving them things like a VIP discount or even a gift through, or a gift with their purchase. This type of acknowledgement, when applied to customers that are highly valuable, can leave customers feeling valued and actually leave the customer recommending the retailer to friends and making them more of an advocate and not losing someone who is a hugely high value customer. For operations and logistics, which is almost for everyone, seen as a necessary last mile step that has to put the product in the hands of the customers as quickly as possible while keeping costs as low as possible. I wonder how many retailers and how many of you think about the opportunity for the impact on customer experience there, the opportunity for advocacy and customer growth for VIP customers, potentially high value customers in the future. And how expensive is it to have some variations in packaging, messaging for various customer segments that are valuable? And what potential impact could that have on the customer? If you think about when a customer is most likely to, for your customers you might have that are very active on social media as well, when is a customer most likely to broadcast on social media about your product? It may well be when they're using it, but it could also be when they open it. I see a lot on Instagram of people who've received something and they're taking it out the box, and that whole unpacking, we all love receiving gifts, right? That whole unpacking of the experience can make a big difference in terms of your brand advocacy and the halo effect for customers that are high value. In Australia, and I know we've got a few Australian attendees on the webinar, the Iconics see themselves as a platforms business. They're a client of Lexer's. One of those platforms is centered around fulfillment. So they're using sophisticated automated storage retrieval systems. They've increased their storage capacity by 40% and can fulfill customer orders in 10 minutes. This allows them to delight customers through impressive delivery times, up to sort of 90-minute delivery windows. And it also allows them to think about the experience. So they have that obsession with customer experience. They're thinking about what it means to receive the product, and it means that their customers are returning more. They actually crave that experience, and obviously they are becoming advocates of the brand. Merchandising and buying. So merchandising is usually driven by product sales, what's going out of the door, therefore what do we need to bring in the door, and it's product-led rather than customer context-led. We think it needs to be both. What demand are your high-value customers generating? The ones that are going to actually buy more and they're going to buy from you, versus the ones which the low-value customers who maybe buy once are generating. What is the difference in your merchandising profile across your high-value customers and your low-value customers? Which product sales are linked with frequently repeating buyers versus those very infrequent buyers? And what feedback can you gain from your repeat and high-value customers on what they want to see in the future to forecast intent, to think about what you need to merchandise in the future, to understand the zeitgeist of the customer and increase that connection between what they want to see and therefore what you are likely to be able to sell? So if you can inform that process through better customer profiles, knowing the top percent, and start to link merchandising through to customers that buy from you, you can reduce the risk of expensive decisions. You can drive revenue through successful products. We have an example with an FMCG retailer who had discontinued a product line. They needed to sell, they've got best before dates, their products have best before dates. So they needed to sell product through before that best before date. So they identified customers who had previously purchased the product or the flavor more than once. They were people that came back and bought that product and flavors, or had provided a positive review about that product already. They then ran a campaign in paid social and email to reach these customers in order to link the products that they needed to ship quickly before they had to bin it, basically, to those customers. They could be really specific, relevant with the messaging, targeted with who they sent that campaign to, rather than a really expensive and generic message to all of their customers. It ensured really high engagement and very rapid purchase rates. Those sort of examples of how you can link your merchandise that is remnant, and maybe you do need to move on through to customer as well as how you can inform future merchandising decisions. HR, not one that people commonly think, and I noticed no one had HR, but if you can drive customer obsession from the team that are hiring the employees in the business, from that first employee through the employee engagement through to the customer, and you are thinking about your customer behaviors and demographics to better match the teams you have to market. If you think of retailers that might be multi-market, they might have multi stores, especially in Southeast Asia, multi-ethnicities in terms of their customers. How do you understand the customers in these different locations and the different types of customers you have in your customer service teams, in your stores, in terms of who's going to connect well with your customers? How do you employ the right people to match those customer-centric requirements? And how do you keep attrition rates low with employee hiring strategies of people that will connect with your customers and will enjoy those daily engagements with the customers? We have retailers that use their own data, and they've overlaid some third-party demographic data over that, for those that know Experian in Australia. So they can develop customer personas for their stores. They understand personas of customers for each of the locations and the trade areas of their stores. That helps them better understand the affluence, the household makeup, the type of customers that are visiting by store, so that they can determine which stores to open or close. They can determine their hiring decisions for those stores, because sales is all about making those personal connections. So if you're thinking about where your customers are, where your stores are likely to be that match with your customer personas, and taking it down to the last mile, where you're actually thinking about the teams and the people that need to be in those stores, that will create more customer connections, that will match with your customer, and that will ultimately drive increased revenue through that customer-centric approach. In store managers, sales associates, this is a bit of a current obsession for Lexer, and something we've invested a lot in. For most of you on the call, the overwhelming number of your customer touch points per day will be through your sales associates talking to customers, the hundreds, the thousands of customers that come into your store each day. It's a very difficult one to connect customer data to, because it is directly human to human. But how could the customer experience look differently if a sales associate could understand the customer they're engaging with very quickly, if they could understand the previous engagement with the brand, whether they're a high value customer, whether they shop in, they go once a year and buy their full wardrobe, or they buy frequently but are only buying individual items. How would your customer engagement strategies change if you knew customers who've been into a store, and you can actually capture that information with some information around the engagement, and you can feed that back into marketing to power them more with that information? Also, how much more empowered would your sales associate be, in that always we've all experienced it, the sales associates looking sort of a little bit sort of timidly like, can I help you? They don't know anything about the customer. They're waiting for the customer to give them something to form a conversation, and we'll say, no, thank you, I'm just browsing. They've got very little information about that customer to form an engagement, to have a human to human response. But if they could be armed and empowered with some of that information, based on the customer's history, if they could go to the customer and say, hey, have you shopped with us before? And the customer says, yes, I have. And they can quickly, on a tablet in front of them, which is like a clienteling tool, which is one that we're launching at the moment, to understand some information about that customer, understand whether they're high value and they should give them a VIP experience, ask them questions about the products they've bought in the past, and whether it was, whether they had a great vacation, which is the purpose that they bought that product for. You immediately break down that wall between customer and sales associate, and they can have a human engagement. And the customer's been in store. You might know some of the intents and some of the reasons that they've been in store that you can feed back to marketing. I think the impacts are clear. You can clearly, with more informed sales, you can increase revenue, customer satisfaction, loyalty, the experience, going back to what customer is expecting now. It's not just about a product that matches their needs. I'm sure you've all seen stats and stories and articles at the moment about how customers are going back into store after COVID for that experience. A lot of that experience is going to be how they engage with the staff within the store. That will drive customer satisfaction, loyalty, and advocacy. It also provides the business with a whole new stream of data and insights that was previously lost into the ether. There may be sales associates that have, especially in maybe like luxury stores and jewelry stores, that know some of their customers, but it's locked into their engagement and their knowledge. This is something that can democratize that information, can inform management, can inform marketing, and can inform the business decisions that you may make based on what you're knowing about how your customer is engaging within store. So we have a number of clients at the moment that are using clienteling tools that bring up customer purchase history on a tablet, and the sales associate will guide them through their experience in store. They can follow up one-to-one for key VIP customers, so they can do a quick message at the end of the day saying, hey, thanks for popping in, it was great to see you. We hope you love the top or the pair of shoes you bought, to strengthen that experience. And some of the customers that are trialing this product with us at the moment, they're feeling, the customer sales associates are feeling that experience is better. They're getting more from that experience. And we're seeing that the average sales value is lifted between visits. So we're seeing that on average, the average total sales lift for a customer who has this engagement with the sales associate is lifting by about 3%. And we are at really early stages. We're testing this, we're learning. And also the results are not all about just generating more from that sale, although that is important. It's about the indirect effects of capturing that information, understanding across the business how customers are engaging and what they want, and also understanding the sales associates that are doing a great job with engaging with customers can have an impact on the business more broadly. We're going to go to another poll now. I'm going to essentially flip the question around. And with some of those things that I've spoken about and you've thought about, I'm really interested in where you think the biggest impact lies. So if you can imagine a world where everyone in the business can capture all of the information that they need, it's at their fingertips, which of these would drive the most impact in your business? And impact can be defined however you wish to define it. It could be revenue, it could be cutting costs, it could be increasing customer experience. Just interested on where you see impact. Marketing is still very prominent. We are seeing customer service, it has perhaps lifted. Store management is a little higher than before. They're the ones that I think off memory have probably grown the most. We might not be seeing humans and retail data completely at scale in lines of people, but we're definitely seeing that there's impact in areas that are not being applied today, which is super interesting. And look, I've sort of painted the picture of this perfect world where everyone can use data however they want. But we also understand it's a journey. It's not easy. Driving a customer first data obsession goes through stages. Some of you will be at different, well, all of you will be at different stages of this data spectrum, if you like, from data zero through being aware of how you can apply that data better, moving through to data savvy where you are applying it, maybe moving it through to that dream state of data first, where that data is seamlessly democratized across the business for for all teams that can use it to generate impact. But it's not easy. It takes time, and you're not going to do it overnight. Completely understand that. But I think what I would encourage is moving through this spectrum has value. It doesn't have to take forever, but you can do it in stages, and you learn as you go as to where it's going to have the most impact and what you might want to do next. But it is definitely about you have to go back to the point about bringing people with you. There's a change transformation that has to go on to move through this. But you can make a start and you can make progress, and every step does have an impact. Last poll, and this is anonymous, so I won't mind and won't take offense. But who are you interested in connecting? Everything that's been interesting. If you want to connect and meet and have a chat, I'm more than happy to. You don't have to be polite. I'm thick-skinned. It's okay. I'm not seeing 100% no. I am thick-skinned, but if it's 100% no, I might be. For those that are, we'll reach out and connect. I've seen lots of red bubbles in the chat and Q&A as well. So I'm more than happy to address those questions now. Hosanna, we will follow up the people that said yes, right? So we will follow that up.
Yes.
Awesome. Ensure your business generates the greatest ROI from those customer data investments. I think that's the thing I really want to leave. A lot of you are investing in customer data. Make the most of it. It may not be a 360 deployment through all these business areas, but think about that investment and work on how you can make more of those customer data projects. That is me. Thank you, guys. Thank you for listening, engaging. We do have some questions. Hosanna, where am I looking? Q&A?
Yes, Q&A box. All questions are fielded in the open tab.
Thank you. Guys, we've got about 10 minutes for questions. I will go through the questions. So we have a question from Alex saying, even if the processes are manual and slow, it's often the first step to drive interest about customer insights to the business. What are the basic customer insights that need to be resurfaced for a business that is the beginning of their customer-centric journey? It's a really good question. Commonly, you don't know what you don't know. So if you've struggled to get insights about your customer data, you have a whole load of assumptions about your customers based on maybe some data that you do have, product sales, based on what people have told you in store, or you've joined dots. So I think the first step is knowing what you don't know, looking at the health of your customer base and looking at the metrics that you feel should be better. That might be the number of people that purchase more than once from you. It might be the average order value. It might be how frequently people buy and how that varies across, say, channels. Understanding that first, then looking at which of those metrics can, if you could shift them, would make the most impact. If you could convert more one-time buyers into 2 or 3, what difference would that make to your business? And what percentage of them would you need to convert? Once you have that, you can look at the insights as to how you can do it. So you can look at customers who might buy a certain product first, and what are they most likely to buy second? You can dig into the customer data to understand, for people that buy through the website, do they only buy from the website, or do they also go into the store and buy? And therefore, if you know that you drive a higher order value in store, and people are buying on the website, but maybe live near a store and have never been, maybe you want to drive them into store. So they're the 3 steps for me. That question is, firstly, know what you don't know, then understand what metrics are going to make an impact, and then dig into the insights as to how you might do that. I have a question from Joel. Sometimes customer data is siloed due to sensitivity, i.e. medical data in a highly secure source, but enrichment has to happen elsewhere for marketing, say. I know this session is retail focused, but is this a scenario you have had to deal with, and recommendations? Yes, there can be data silo challenges. Sometimes data cannot leave a market. Sometimes it can't leave a database. Sometimes there are no ways around it. Sometimes there are some things that can be done. maybe you can leave the PII, the personal identifiable information, where it is, and you can hash those IDs, and you can still get the insights without removing the sensitive personal details. You still might be able to capture those insights. Maybe you can bring the enrichment to the data source, and you can actually apply those insights there. It depends on the makeup of the business, but there are ways that you can make progress if maybe it's not perfect. But there are ways that you can make progress in that situation. Another question from Alex. Alex has been very active. Thanks, Alex. Do you have examples and return on investment specifics about human resources, KPIs, and how customer data can help them? Look, honestly, very few of our customers are taking it to that HR level. But when we think about how we have been applying our clienteling into store and thinking about how the hiring decisions around sales associates, we know that sales associates have a huge attrition rate. It's very difficult to make them love their job. They tend, as I said, they stand there, their days are waiting to be approached. And then when they are approached, they are just led by what the customer might say. So I think, and that's where most of the staff tend to be for bigger retailers. They've got a lot of stores, definitely. So if I think about how HR can use that information for in-store and think about how sales associates can have a better job satisfaction, the actual cost of that, the reduced cost in attrition for sales associates to stay, and also how you can measure performance for sales associates. It's really hard to do. You're reliant on the store manager taking a view of, of that person. Actually understanding how many engagements with a customer they're having, how much they're increasing the average order value per sales associate can have a huge input into HR. And then if you're thinking about who you might put in the store, who's going to resonate with the sort of customers that have come in, that can feed into hiring decisions as well. I think there is massive ROI on being able to hire the right people, measure them, and also reduce what tends to be 60% attrition rates for those sales associates. The ROI is potentially massive there. Question from Derek. Hey, Derek. What are the common mistakes that people make when embarking on a data-first approach and how to avoid? It's a really good question. I mentioned one, which is if we make a single customer view, if we build it, they will come. If we do that, then everything will just magically happen. I think another one is trying to do too much too soon. I mentioned bringing people along on that journey, and I think that is super important. So I think it's phasing what you're going to do. You can do an infinite number of things with a data-first approach and how you can apply that customer data, and you can intimidate teams, you can overwhelm teams, you can get in the weeds when you're not thinking about the fundamentals very easily. So I think that one of the most common mistakes is not phasing how they're going to use that customer data, not thinking about how they're going to bring teams along that journey. And if you think about that sort of spectrum I was showing before, how you just move through that at a pace that works with the business. One last one I mentioned is trying to personalize everything when that might not be possible with the resource you have. Think about the areas that will drive the biggest impact. Think about how you talk to your high value customers and be personal to them. Think about how you think you want to address the metrics that you might have identified that you want to influence, and focus on those. You don't need to do it for everything. You do not need to personalize every single engagement, but you do want to think about the ones that will have the most impact on growing your customers, retaining your high value customers, and converting your new customers, and be mindful based on the resource that you will have on how you prioritize. I have another one. How do you identify what will be the useful data for each department? It's a really good question. I think it's more about what's the priorities for each department, and what outcomes are they trying to achieve, and what have they identified as their objectives. So it doesn't necessarily start with what data is useful, is what are you trying to achieve, and then working it backwards from there. Another key part is you might not know what you don't know again. So when you start to surface what's important, I've got an example for TGV cinemas that we work with in Malaysia. Post-COVID, everyone was going back to the cinema and sales were higher than ever before. And they thought, brilliant, all our people are coming back. Everything is great. The customer data told them that a lot of their really, really loyal customers hadn't come back yet. And they had a whole load of new customers that were experiencing their cinemas for the first time. So the useful data there is digging into how do you convert these new customers and how do we get back the customers that haven't, but the data was actually telling them the things that they didn't know before. So it does depend on firstly identifying things that maybe you don't know, and it depends on which outcomes you want to drive. And then you ask the questions of the data. Okay, who are the people that haven't come back? What are the things that might draw them back? Who are these people that are coming to the first time? What are they watching? Who are these customers? And how can we engage with them to make them become future loyal customers? I have a question from Ivan or Ivan. Could you help elaborate the connection with the impact on hiring process, HR side? I think I don't have anything to add on what I previously said on that Ivan or Ivan. I think it's a super interesting area. Like I said, it isn't one that a huge number of our clients are digging into in great detail, but I think it's a really, really interesting area. I would love to connect, and if you've got some thoughts or you're thinking about things that could be influenced or need to be influenced, I'd love to talk about that a little bit more. But I think I sort of covered that with the previous answer. Hosanna, have I got everything?
Yes.
And I've actually run to time.
Yes, yes.
Amazing. Guys, I hope that was valuable. Like I said, there will be a recording sent round. Thank you so much. They were awesome questions. We will follow up with the people that want to have a chat. If you said no or you didn't say yes, you can find me on LinkedIn. It's Ben Moreau. You can reach out to me. You can reach out to us. But thank you so much for attending and for the engagement. Have a great day.